All right. Welcome back to the second episode of Breakfast Analysis. Today we've got peanut butter toast. As you can see, it took me a long time. I got 4 pieces of toast. I think that was a bit excessive. Also makes my mouth very dry. So I don't know how much of that I'll actually eat, but we're back. We're talking about TF2. Currently on the screen we have last week's rankings. Last episode was pretty long. It was like almost an hour. I doubt we'll go that long this week. Probably closer to like 15-20 minutes. But we're just going to go over all the teams, do exactly what we did last week. We even look at the invite standings for right now. Pretty similar, more or less, to what I currently had my rankings at last week. Without further ado, let's see how the rankings have changed. They haven't. I really wanted to change rankings after this week, because there's a lot of like almost upsets, you could say. There were a lot of games where I really wanted to switch a couple of teams. Like, I wanted to switch Swift and Velocity. I wanted to move Black Swan up. I wanted to put, like, I don't know. I wanted to do something with these 3, but ultimately I couldn't justify it. I feel like we have to keep them at their same ranking they were at last week. Not saying it can't change, but this is still how I feel in my gut. The teams stack up against one another. We could see some upsets still. I think from like here to here, everybody's like pretty close. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting TF2 to happen. Basically, the middle 5, top 2. I mean, Fire Tech Center are gonna win every match. TF Crew and H4H are gonna lose every match, but the rest of them, I can see some upsets happening in here. I think it basically will end up looking like this. I think Swift has a much better chance of making playoffs than Black Swan. But we'll see as the season continues. There's going to be a lot more. It's still only week 2, remember, so there's still a lot of change that can happen, both in this list and then on rosters and stuff, too. The Hooligans for higher... Oh, we're not doing Hooligans for higher. TF Crew had an awful week. You can see they're still winless. They played 1 match against Friotech. They got 4-0'd. Nothing really surprising at all here. When you're a team like TF Crew, you're going up against Friotech, you expect to get 4-0'd on a map like this. That didn't really affect their rankings at all, because they were low enough to begin with. But I did want to look at a few of their scrims, just because I felt like they weren't doing great in scrims either. Even against, like, lower-level teams. Like, let me just open up a whole bunch of these. This is June's profile. So they lost 4-1 against Hooligans for Hire. That's a bit concerning, considering Hooligans for Hire is supposed to be, like, way at the bottom. Like, this gap was supposed to be pretty big, but apparently Hooligans for Hire are winning in scrims. This is against... Charis. Which one's this? I think this is against, like, yeah, this is against Black Swan. So, again, they couldn't get around off Black Swan. Again, they couldn't get around off Black Swan. This, I think, is just like an IM team or something, because these aren't invite players. Not this season, at least. So they didn't get around off there. This time they beat the IM players. I'm just assuming they're IM players. I don't actually know. Charis, so this is, once again, Black Swan. And this is, once again, Black Swan. So... the fact that they lost their match isn't concerning. The fact that they're not doing well in scrims is what's concerning. Because TF Crew have the potential to fall all the way down to 9th if Hooligans for Hire can actually best them in a match. I originally had them at 7th. I had them above Black Swan at the beginning of the season. Then they lost a match to Black Swan, so they've had to fall down to 8th. I would hate for them to have to fall down even further. If they get last, I know all the YouTube fans will will be sad because this team's got a weirdly large fan base because they were sponsored by like Uncle Dane and like that group of YouTubers. So I'd like to see them do well, but it's just not happening for them right now. My anime list had a really bad week 2. We'll go take a look at their matches. This was the big one. What's up, Zaboomfu? Getting forward by Velocity. This is a team they wanted to beat. This is a match they wanted to and thought they could win. And so the fact that they lost it kind of sucks, especially if they lost it 4-0. If they lost this like 4-3 or like 4-2, this could have been good for them. Zaboomfu, I'm sorry, you've been misled, my friend. That's what this is. That was the only match they've played so far. They are playing Hooligans for Hire later today, actually. So if you're watching this live, then that's happening tonight. We are casting it over on Team Fortress TV. So that'll be at 11 p.m. Eastern. But, yeah, my enemy not less. This is definitely a match they should win. But, I mean, the fact that they lost 4-0 from Velocity, especially when you see a few of the other matches that Velocity played on this map, like earlier in the week, it just makes this loss even more disappointing. I did manage to talk with Tojo after the match, and they said their goal is still to make playoffs. I wrote this down, but they realized that after that game, it's going to be a lot harder. They need a lot more things to go right for them, because when you're like a middle-level team, you're going to lose to like the Froyotechs, and you're going to win against the Hooligans or Hires of the league. So it really, like, whether you make playoffs or not, boils down to a few really important matches, and this is one of those important matches for my anime list, and so the fact that they lost it kind of sucks. Alright, cool. See you later, Zaboomfu. Good luck in your scrims. The fact that they lost this really sucks for them. And I mentioned Gully Wash week is going to be really important for them. That's what Trip told me, or Tojo told me, when we were discussing this. As you can see, Gully Wash week, they're playing 8K and Velocity. This will probably be... all good, dude. This will probably be the week that makes or breaks their playoff chances. Oh, gotcha. That makes more sense. Because not a lot of people scrim at like 2 p.m. But this is basically going to determine whether they make playoffs or not. It's still a ways down the road, so they've got a lot of time to practice, which is good. But of course, that means that 8K and Velocity do as well. But, I mean, apparently they've been, like, going toe-to-toe with Swift and stuff in scrims. This is just what Tojo told me. Like, not beating Swift consistently or anything, but putting up a good fight. So, I'd really like to see my anime list sneak into playoffs just because they're definitely the underdog this season. And they've played well with big wins against teams like 8K. They beat 8K, which is a really close match, but this game hurts them, and they're going to have to do better than this if they're going to make playoffs this season. Speaking of Velocity, who they have to beat, or who's trying to beat my anime list into playoffs, they had a really strange week. Both of their games were set to be kind of close. This one was supposed to be a roll for Velocity, and this one was supposed to be like a 4-3, and it was completely the other way. Velocity Esports dropped 3 rounds to Black Swan, and this is like the most confusing thing that happened all week. For some reason, my anime list is a better team than Black Swan. Like, pretty, I don't know, I don't think many people would argue against that. But still, Black Swan were almost able to beat them on this map. So that would have been pretty crazy. That would have really thrown around the top 5. Yeah, we would have had almost like a circle of teams beating other teams, but not quite, it seems, as Black Swan are able to, or Velocity are still able to beat Black Swan. It's really important for Velocity, obviously. They need all the wins they can get against these mid-level teams. But even if they had lost this one, the fact that they beat MyAnimeList.net over here, it means that they kind of have this buffer zone. Now they've beaten Black Swan. Now they've beaten AnimeList. They kind of have this room to work with. I mean, their week 1 matches weren't that impactful. They were all against either a really low-level team or a really top-level team. And they did well against Ascent, but that probably wasn't one they were going to win. So when they play these mid-level teams, it's really important they pick up wins here. Now they got them early on in the season, they can kind of relax, like going into Snakewater week. This is probably the biggest match happening next week, Velocity versus Swift. Even if they lose this, they don't have to be worried about like losing their playoff spot because they've already beaten a couple of other mid-level teams. They still can, obviously. Gully Wash is again an important week for Velocity. It's an important week for the league all around, honestly. But they're gonna need to continue doing well throughout the season. I've heard that the reason Black Swan might do this is just because they're more of like a DM heavy team, which would allow them to beat Velocity Esports, especially because it's Viaduct. Viaduct can be very wish-washy, which I think can partly be used to explain this these two results, because these two results don't make any sense on paper. But when you consider that Black Swan's a more DM heavy team, when you consider that it's Viaduct week, this kind of falls in this place. It kind of makes more sense why something like this might have happened. Good for Velocity that it didn't go all the way, but yeah, they got to be careful. They don't want any more results like this, and putting anime lists in the bag like that, that's really good for their egos. It's going to boost them pretty significantly, and at least in my power rankings, it'll be hard to get them out of the top 4 after that, after this game. Swift NA, we can take a look at them now. Hey, Darkstar. Fruit had 59 deaths, yeah. We'll go a bit more into Fruit in the Black Swan analysis, because I do want to talk about him, but he's an important player to watch. Swift's week 2, a 4-1 win over 8K, and then a 4-0 loss over Fryotech. This one's kind of expected. 8K has been crippled since week 1. And if you're paying attention to this roster, you might be able to see where it is, but we won't point it out right now. This roster. But this one really hurts them. Their 4-0 loss to Fryotech. Obviously, nobody expected Swift to beat Fryotech, but we were expecting at least 1 round, maybe 2 rounds. I mean, this is technically the team that got 2nd place last season. I understand that they've switched 5 of their 6 players, but still, they are top-level players, and I would expect them to do better than a 4-0 against Fryotech. Bot mode did really well. Yite hit a lot of damage, but it wasn't enough to carry up against a team like Fryotech, where Eric's dropping like 35 frags, and yeah, pretty much just Eric here. I mean, Benny did well too. All of Fryotech's players did really, really well. If you were watching the game, Blaze had some crazy bombs. The stats don't really reflect it because he's a roamer player, but myself and Mela casted this match, and I was a little disappointed with the result. I'm not gonna lie, I really wish Swift would do better. And Swift losing 4-0 to Fryotech, as well as dropping around to 8K, I feel like that's kind of expected. But if they wanted to come out dominant, they probably could have put that away in a 4-0. But the fact that happened with Swift, and the fact that Velocity 4-0'd my anime list, that almost made me put Velocity above Swift in the power rankings. But the fact that that Velocity lost the 3 rounds to Black Swan, and the fact that Swift was against Fryotech, I decided not to. I kept Swift still in 3rd place, but they're holding on by a thread. If next week doesn't go well for them, who do they play next week? Hooligans for higher and Velocity. Oh yeah, so this match, if they lose this match, something's wrong. They'll definitely win this match. But their game against Velocity, obviously, whoever wins this game will be 3rd in the power rankings, and it could go either way. This one I'm really, really excited to see how it turns out. First 3 rounds, Habib had like 9 frags, then he got like a 10 kill streak in 1 round. Yes, I know. Habib's kill streak in the last round went pretty crazy as well. So good on him to be able to pull that off as well. But that's Swift. Going on, Fryotech's the next one. And I kind of mentioned there, it's kind of weird that Fryotech, the only time they've lost a round is against my anime list. When you see their teams are going up against, like, you wouldn't think it's anime list that takes the round off Fryotech. But that's how it goes. I guess just the fact that Swift, the other team who would be likely to take rounds off them, did play them on Viaduct, which can be kind of a wish-washy map. Whatever. But when you're looking at this record, it's only week 2, but still, I mean, Fryotech's looking as dominant as ever. They don't play Ascent until Process, which is February 19th is the default date. And that's going to be after Rewind. So that's a little disappointing to me. I would have liked to see the Friday Tech Ascent matchup before Rewind. But, I mean, it sucks. What can you do? Friday Tech aren't going to be able to flex on Ascent until after LAN, I suppose. Or at LAN, I guess. We were kind of just talking about this match. But yeah, Blaze and Eric did really, really well. Watching this and Habib's 10 kill streak at the end was big for Friday Tech as well. But the best in the league, and it's hard to say a whole lot about Friday Tech, so we'll move past them. Running with Scissors. This is one of the more interesting teams that happened this week. Samble by Sandblast has left 8K in the first roster transaction of ESEA Invite Season 27. You can see in these games they are now playing with Mikey. They've done a lot of switches, actually. I've never heard of Mikey before. He doesn't have a great record as a history. It's his first season Invite. Last season he made playoffs in Open on Mr. Popo Rocks. I think this is a good team. How did they actually do? Yeah, they got second, so I mean that's a good result from Mikey. But no Invite experience is always worrying to me. I mean, he made Open playoffs in season 19, especially this 20-26. That's a 5-season gap he's got right there. Sandblast is not going to any team. Sandblast is leaving to play Battalion 1984, I think is the game. Battalion something. It's basically like a World War II realistic shooter. And that's what he's decided to do. He's leaving a team to go play that game instead. So that kind of sucks for us in TF2, but as long as he's having fun, then that's good for him. And we wish him well on his journeys. But AK were able to take 4-1 over Black Swan. This match is kind of interesting just because Black Swan did so well in their first match of the week. I don't think we've covered Black Swan yet, but I'll just like dig into it real quick. 1944? Probably, you're right. Probably 1944. Alright, see you later, Direct Star. This VOD will go up on YouTube, so anybody who's not able to watch the full thing right now, they can watch it later. But Black Swan, I mean, look at their results. They got 3 rounds off Velocity and they lose to 8K. And I mean, nobody would put 8K above Velocity, at least not at this point. So Running with Scissors coming out 4-1 Black Swan, that's actually really good for them. It doesn't seem like an important result, and on its own, like if you consider the Black Swan like kind of how we were thinking of last season or last week, this would be an expected match result. And it wouldn't be all that shocking, but just the fact that Black Swan had already proven they're so good on Viaduct, for 8K to be able to come out here and take it 4-1 over them, I would have really liked to see what 8K could have done against Velocity, if the math turns out on all of these games, because math-wise it seems like 8K would have won that match, but obviously everything's different in the game. I think getting around off Swift's not bad either. Obviously, I mean this is like a good result for them. A great result would have been like 2 or 3 rounds. An amazing result would have been winning. But they're happy with this. Not getting 4-0'd was kind of the goal, I'm assuming, going into this, especially with Mikey over instead of Sandblast. I think Sandblast was their best player last season, or last week. I mean, you can just look at the results here. Here they got 5-0'd, so their results might not be as important, but Sandblast still top fragged on the team and top damaged the team. And then in the other game, Sandblast top fragged the server, and his damage wasn't crazy, but still respectable damage. So losing Sandblast hurts them a lot. They've done a lot of switches with their roster, actually. Muffins has gone to Scout. Saigai has gone to Pocket. I like both of these switches. Saigai was originally on Demo Man. Muffins was originally on Pocket, so Sandblast was on Scout. Sandblast left. Muffins moved to Scout to fill his role. Saigai moved to Pocket to fill Muffins' role. And then I believe Mikey's moving to Demo, yeah, as it says right there. So, it's a good week. It was a good week for Running with Scissors. All in all, losing Sandblast sucks, but their match results don't seem to be too hurt by it. Next week will be a better test for them. Their match against TF Crew should be pretty good. Their game against Friday Tech, I mean, I hope they do well, but I don't know how I'm not super confident in that prediction. But their match against TF Crew would be really important because obviously, like, TF Crew is kind of a lower level team, but still, with AK's roster a little more crippled, and with it being a more standard map, we'll get to more see how they actually play now they don't have Sandblast. If that's really, really going to hurt them, or if they're actually able to bounce back. Because if they can bounce back with a solid win against TF Crew, that'll show that this roster switch up isn't hurting them in the long run, and they'll be just fine without Sandblast. If they struggle in this match, even if they win it, if they like win it 5-3 or worse, 5-3, 5-4, that's disappointing result for them. They want to be able to win this match decisively, and if they don't, that spells disaster for them in the future. I could see Black Swan or somebody else overtaking them by the end of the season. But that's 8K. I still like 8K. I'm sad that they lost Sandblast. Hooligans for Hire, they had a pretty boring week. Generally, the very top and the very bottom of the league are kind of not that competitive. What's up, Smin? We're just going over the teams in ESEA Invite right now. We're on Hooligans for Hire, who didn't have a great Viaduct week, but it's not over yet. They are playing My Anime List later tonight, which I will be casting on Team Fortress TV, as I've already mentioned. So we should go check that out. But getting 4-0'd by Ascent, I mean, this has got to be the worst match of the week last week. Not a whole lot to do on the stats, I'm sure. Corsa got a lot of damage. Corsa and Badonsky top 400. That's pretty funny. But as terms as Hooligans for Hire are concerned, Linkle did really good, it seems, just by looking at these numbers. I didn't watch this game because why? But I do like their new logo. Just want to say, this is sick. And I'm really excited to see them play, even just for this logo. I hope this logo gets used on stream. It should be. But I'm pretty sure you are streaming tonight, Nicehole. I think so. I think we talked about this. Or no, maybe it's Azazel. I don't know. Look on the Trello, dude. It's definitely on there. It might be Azazel. I think it's Azazel. But the Hooligans for Hire My Anime List match should be okay. Especially because My Anime List didn't do too good in their first Viaduct game. Like, if it loads their team, which ESEA is a really awful website, so it might take a while. But, I mean, their 4-0 loss to Velocity really should have been a 4-3. Or like a 4-2 at the minimum. But the fact that it was 4-0, maybe My Anime List just sucks at product, and that's going to open things up for Hooligans for Hire. It's a bit of a stretch, I know. It's a bit of a stretch. But I could see it happening if Hooligans for Hire really put in the work. And I know as a team, like, they're very committed to getting better. I hope they at least get a round, because right now they're at 0 rounds won, and that's a sad place to be at. So I hope they can get at least 1 round off My Anime List. That'll make me happy at the end of tonight. Black Swan now, I mean, they had a very good week. They almost beat Velocity. This is the craziest match of the week. We've talked a whole lot about it already because it's so important to just the overall standings this week. We've also talked about their match against 8K already. Strange that they won against Black Swan, or they almost won against Velocity, and they got completely rolled over by 8K. 3 teams with that color scheme. That's true, I suppose. Black and yellow, Velocity, Hooligans for Hire. Who's the last one? Yeah, I don't know who the other team you're talking about is, but I still like the logo, even if it conflicts a little bit. I'm not sure what there really is to say off this that we haven't talked about already for Black Swan. Taking 3 rounds off Velocity is really important. Losing 4-1 to 8K. Yeah, as I've kind of discussed, they're kind of a DM-heavy team, and I think Viaduct's just sort of their map, which is why they did so well against Velocity. It doesn't really explain their matchup against 8K, though. I don't know. I'm going to have to watch these games. I haven't actually seen either of them. But if you enjoy watching VODs, then I would recommend watching Black Swan's VODs from last week, because they're both very interesting, I'm sure. See what actually ended up happening in these games. Swift's colors are like yellow or like white and red. Not really black and yellow. Or it could be like a little black and red sometimes. I don't know. Swift's colors are very strange. They're very muted. This is just the American flag and Canadian flag in the background of white and black. Full screen in the Google Doc? I suppose so. Is this even what you're talking about? Is this what you're talking about? This does look better. Thanks, Nicel. It's okay, Smin. Yeah, we can't really do this for long because I still gotta like switch out, but that's okay. View full screen. Cool. Thanks, Nicel. Moving down, the last team we have to go over, Ascent. I mean, they really didn't have a whole lot going on their ESEA ESEA match this time. Their only game was a 4-0 over Hooligans for Hire, and again, that was pretty much a roll, but this is the biggest Ascent news of the week. Joining us for Rewind 2 will be Guy and Lunatic Boar, Strong Arm, full roster for the event. This sucks. This sucks so much for Ascent. The fact that they don't have Corsa and Slumnish, I mean, Guy and Boar are good. But this means Patty's going to be playing on Scout as well, because I doubt Guy's playing on Scout. So I'm assuming it's going to be like Patty and Boar on Scout, Guy on Pocket, Marmaloo Roamer, Badonsky Demo, and Nursey Medic. Corsa is just so good, and I get this kind of stuff happens, you know. Corsa and Slumnish, there's not a lot they could do. There's a bunch of drama about this thing happening on Twitter, and I'm not going to get into that, but it is unfortunate. I'll just say that. And I'm not going to blame the players who couldn't show up because obviously life commitments happen, and when you're a small esport, you can't expect teams to just throw everything away for the game. So it does suck. According to the graphic, is it Scion Scout? Shit, that does actually match up. Okay. Yeah, no, you're right, because it kind of has like Medic, Scout, Soldier, Demo, Scout, Soldier, and Nursey's Medic, Boar's Scout, Marmaloo's Soldier, Badonsky's Demo, and I guess Guy's playing Scout? Has Guy ever played Scout before? I don't think so. He was known as a Demo main for the longest time, then he played Soldier on Froyotech last season, and then before that, I don't know, I've never seen him play Scout, but maybe he'll be a good Scout? Man, I feel like that hurts their chances even more now when they go to Rewind. I don't think ESEA would tell us. No, they wouldn't really tell us. ESEA doesn't really track that. So, yeah, this kind of sucks. It's going to make Rewind a little less competitive. They can still do well, and they can still be a challenge to Froyotech if they really practice with this roster. But this is not... They're keeping the same roster for ESEA, so they're still playing with Corsa and Slumnish on ESEA. So, hopefully this doesn't hurt them too much. Guy in ESEA right now is playing on Running with Scissors, and Boar is currently backing up on Froyotech, so... Guy's playing Soldier, and Boar's backing up, so neither of them are really getting in a lot of Scout practice. I'm sure they'll be scrimming and stuff, or not scrimming, but pugging and stuff, and probably closer to the event, they will be scrimming with Ascent, I'm assuming. But it does suck for the event, and it kind of makes it more of a two-horse race between Froyo and Seven. But it's LAN, upsets can always happen, so hopefully it'll still be good. I'm still really excited for Rewind despite these changes. But yeah, so that's my analysis, and we didn't eat much toast, but that'll have to be okay. What happened to Garbuglio? Garbuglio got cut in the big Swift cut. Before Swift changed out 5 players on their roster, they were gonna play with Garbuglio, but now they're not. I'm pretty sure. If I'm remembering my invite mix-up drama correctly, I think that's what happened with Garbuglio. So, currently Garbuglio is not playing this season. But I'd like to see him come back. Because I really like watching Garbuglio play. He was Garbuglio the one who... No, Garbuglio wasn't the one who left for Quake. Who was it that left for Quake? I'm trying to think now. He's definitely playing this season, whoever he is. Bot mode. It was bot mode who left for Quake. That's right. There you go. So, yes, definitely bot mode. But he came back because it didn't work out for him. But as I said, that was my show. Thank you guys for tuning in. This will be going up on the YouTube, and again, be sure to tune in later tonight to watch the ESEA Invite match. That is Hooligans for Hire taking on my anime list. We could see some updates. You never know. I'm sure it'll be a good game. And follow me on Twitch because I'm like 4 followers away from emote. So do that. Thanks. We'll see you later.